Hey, Gary's Gulch, welcome back. Do you feel like you are putting off life right now? In your working years, you're just grinding away so that someday in the future you can retire and actually start to live your life? I have a client like that who I've known for several years, and I've been helping, and we are slowly getting out of this mindset. And actually, it's not so much a mindset anymore. It's a situation, a box that he's been put into. This doctor is a general practitioner, a family practitioner, and he happens to own his building and his own practice. And he tries to work with somewhat a little bit more affluent customers, meaning that he doesn't rely on insurance for a lot of the help that he provides for his clients. And he is still financially successful in attracting and retaining those kinds of clients. The challenge is that he hated paying taxes. And so he met some financial advisors and said, hey, I'm starting to make money. How do I not pay all of this in taxes? Because the man works hard and doesn't want to give it all to the government. Does that feel familiar? It did for me, for sure. And so he started putting into place some extensive tax savings, tax strategies. And so he had something called a defined benefit plan, a self-insured pension plan, which essentially means that he was putting away several $100,000 a year pre-tax. So many of you probably think that's not even possible. A 401k, the best you could do as an S corporation owner can get you maybe $57,000 or $60,000. That's not true. You can put away hundreds of thousands of dollars if you are taking on board funding the future retirement plans of the executive of your company. Now, this gets complex. I'm an expert at doing it, but I can tell you that if you have a lot of other employees, it doesn't work out too well. There are strategies that are similar, but let's just stay away from all that complexity and say that he was putting away so much money that he was frustrated and stressed out. He continued to work harder to bring in money that he then turned around and isolated from himself until he got into a retirement position. He commented to me once, Gary, I'm just extremely tired of eating ramen noodles because I don't have any money to eat and we can't go out to eat. Can you imagine? This man was bringing in a few $1,000,000 a year and had figured out a way not to hold on to it. Actually, just to protect himself from it. So the question I pose after that little scenario or that example is, are you falling in these traps? Are you truly in control of your own wealth, or has someone else been making the rules in your lifetime? Well, I can say, looking in the mirror, that yes, I was susceptible to that. I let other people make the rules by giving me financial tax incentives that I latched onto. And then enter the shysters who come in, people without the necessary ethics, people who were just of bad character, and they said, these people are going to chase these tax incentives. So let's go do a fake oil and gas deal. Let's go do a fake real estate deal. And they take advantage of you. Now, I'm not saying everybody I got involved with is like that. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. Some people just lost my money because they tried hard but had a bad idea, or the economy got the best of them. But it is so easy to talk people out of their money if you can convince them that they're going to save on taxes. And you just have to be careful about that. So hey, today for this episode, big shout out to my friend Glenn. Glenn sent me a text when he asked ChatGPT, what is Gary talking about when he is on Gary's Gulch talking about agency? And we had some good fun with that. And so I decided I was going to weave that into the focus of this episode. My goal is to get you to stop putting off living your life, but have some balance. Have some balance in your life where you can live today, but you also are storing away for the future. Just be the squirrel. Squirrel lives for every day. For those of you who are able to go to YouTube and check this out there, after listening to the podcast, then you'll see the images that I'm sharing on the screen. So this is a bird. It's a beautiful, colorful bird. I don't know what kind of bird it is. It looks kind of like a woodpecker to me, but this bird is like the squirrels, right? It's like most animals and plants out there. They do live 100% for today to thrive in their current environment. Yet they also understand they have to prepare for the times where they're not in such a thriving spring or summer state in the environment around them. And they also prepare and reproduce and take care of the young so that they can continue life. So that is just instinctual in all animals. And I think it's somewhat damaging when books like Die with Zero come out. Now, the overall message in this book, there are many messages, and I like many of these messages, but I hate what the author of this book has done to so many clients of mine or individuals that I've talked to. They have become convinced after reading this book that they need to live for today, not tomorrow. Not today and tomorrow, but today, not tomorrow. Especially individuals I meet and clients that I have that don't have children. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to have children. They're young enough that they don't foresee the impact of looking into the eyes of those beautiful little babies and realizing the new amount of ownership and control and responsibility that you have when you become a parent. But those who don't have kids or can't see themselves having kids, or maybe are too old to have kids, and they don't have family members they don't want to leave stuff to, they're focused 100% on how do I spend every dollar today. Now, I have many clients who are not like that. Thankfully, they haven't read Die with Zero. And again, it sounds like I'm bashing this book, and I am somewhat. There are great things in there if you actually read it. But if you just take it at surface value, or you take the message away that you wanted to, which is, this guy just told me I could stop working at this job that I hate. It's possible, but it's not a smart move. We need to act like the squirrels and the birds and all the other plants and animals out there. We still need to prepare for the future. But I agree, don't give up on life. Don't give up on life for your first 59 and a half years to then finally start living, finally start marking off items on the bucket list. Mahatma Gandhi has a famous quote, and it says that you should learn as if you will live forever, but live like you will die tomorrow. So make the most of every day, but don't keep preparing for the future that's coming. AI is here, and a few years ago it was coming, and we all had to start to prepare for, is that going to change and replace me? Is it going to get rid of my job? And if so, what new skills do I need to bring on to take care of that? I have kids who are going to be going to college. I have a retirement that I'm going to want to do. My wife has these 6 countries that she wants to visit, or I have 3 cars that I want to buy for toys. We have to understand that there is a future, and you do have to prepare for it. But you also do not want to set up your financial life so that you can't live today. If you do that, you will fail. It's like saying, I'm going to lose all these pounds by eating 1 meal a day, and I'm going to keep them off for the rest of my life. No, you're not. Look around. Many other people have tried that. And the human body has this incredible ability to, give up. I don't know if that's an ability, but we have this risk, we have this blind side that we can't keep preventing ourselves from living life. So don't try to do that. We need to find a balance. The primary reason I'm harping on this is because people do what I did, which is take so much money away from yourself and my doctor, client, and friend that we are not living life today. And you can do both, and agency will help you get there. For those of you who have listened to my podcast, have heard me speak, have read my materials, you know that my definition of agency is about personal, individual agency and liberty. It's the power to make independent, informed, and confident decisions about your money and your future. It's extremely important. It's about freedom of choice and control of your own personal capital. And if you have control over your capital, you can count on it being there, you can access it for any purpose, and you can employ it to grow it, then you're in an incredible position to live life today to its fullest and prepare for tomorrow. The reason that people don't live life today to its fullest is because that they find that they don't have control. If you remember my story, I wanted to retire from the military at around 22 years or so when I was done with command of the USS Tucson in Hawaii. The problem is that that was my intention before command. And then from 2008 to 11, I lost half my family's wealth because I had no control, insight, or involvement in what my money was doing and what the people were doing with my money in the markets. And I realized a very harsh lesson, which lives with me today, and I think will until my demise. And that is that if you don't have control over your money, you can't loosen the purse strings. If I have my money in a place where I can just throttle open and shut on the cash flow, and I don't worry much about market downturns or AI replacing me in a job, but I am providing enduring value to other people who have currency and will share it with me, like housing for them, like a business that provides widgets to them or services to them, that I can help them with their business because of I work on keeping myself relevant and being able to be a coach, a mentor, a financial strategist for people. If you continue to work on yourself, learn as if you're going to live forever, like Mahatma Gandhi said, then you never become irrelevant. I've said many times, right? You get up out of bed, you put the pants on, and you go out and you go remake the money that you lost for yourself. It's okay. As long as you have that mindset, that ability, and that relevance, then you can live today and in the future. And that's exactly where I'm headed. And that is one of the big lessons I learned after losing a substantial amount of money recently. Not way back when I lost it in the markets in tier 4 of the hierarchy of wealth, but rather when I lost it more recently, dipping my toe, doing more than dipping my toe, if I'm being honest, into tier 3, where I handed my money to other people and didn't pay enough attention over what was going on. And so that just drives me back to agency and control. Without agency, you're following these preset financial scripts. Retire at 65 and start checking off your bucket list. And hopefully the market doesn't screw you over at 64 before you're ready to retire, because then you're going to try to stay longer at the job and then, kind of refactor into retirement that you're also going to have to work part-time out there in retirement. But without agency, you're also paying unnecessary taxes and fees, right? So we're going to try to optimize that because you put yourself in a position to be able to control how you earn your money. Not what you're earning it for, but how you earn it. You can control what you earn it for as well. But a doctor who's a W-2 employee has a lot less agency than a doctor who is now in a 1099 contractor position, because they can control how much they expense, the hours that they go to work, whether there is a real estate professional or not in their life. Right, Dr. Goodwin? So you can control a lot. But without agency, you're also reacting to crises instead of proactively steering your own wealth. Let's get a stable ship that we can keep on course and not run from every dark cloud that we see in front of us. And so with agency, you can access your money when opportunities arise. That's where you make tremendous amounts of money. People say, why do you want me to put so much money in tier 1 in the strong foundational savings place where it's making 5% net of expenses, maybe 8% before taxes and buying some equivalent term insurance out at a Chase Bank? Well, that's a great return, but it's not the return that the markets are making. It's not the return that real estate is making. And so why would we put so much there? Because when you put it there, you can make 50, 100, 200% kinds of returns, because you can provide capital like in today's environment when many other people will not provide that capital. I have had offers for 20% to lend somebody some bridge capital, to do a short-term loan, to do some kind of property flip investment. I've held back on those because 20% is not what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm saying that my capital is staying close until the incredible once-in-a-lifetime type events happen. And most people do not have the ability to do that because the money is tied up somewhere where they don't have control. And by the way, those once-in-a-lifetime events don't come when the markets are doing well, the sun's shining, and the economy is doing well. That's what Warren Buffett's talking about when he says be greedy when others are fearful. You have to have set up your life and be patient to be able to do those kinds of things. So what kinds of tools then do I talk about that help you build your agency in your life so that you can live life today and into the future? Well, one of them obviously is whole life insurance. It's that tier 1 financial asset. And again, if you are looking on YouTube, you'll be able to see the slides that I'm putting up, just a few of them here. So it's not the end of the world. I'll explain them for those of you who are on the podcast. And many of you have heard me talk about this before. It's just coming at it from a little bit different angle of how do we set these things in motion to help us live life today. So again, whole life insurance, that's tier 1 of what we call a hierarchy of wealth at Paradigm Life. So Patrick Donahoe created this concept of hierarchy of wealth, and it is now woven throughout all of our financial strategy and how we help individuals. And it comes from this very basic adaptation of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you'll see it in chapters 7 and 10 of Patrick's book, Heads I Win, Tails You Lose. And there's a little QR code up here where you can grab it and get a copy of it and take a look at it. And so again, chapter 7 and 10. And the big picture is that we are comparing control that you have over your money against how much risk does that mean you are taking on. So in my own financial life, I put the pictures of my financial journey on the screen here for you so that you can see them, and it'll help you start to understand those four different tiers. And so starting at the bottom is tier one, foundational layer. So just like the foundation of a house, its purpose is to make sure that everything else that sits on top of it stays upright, doesn't fall down during the tumultuous times of storms, floods, and all those kinds of things, right? And so in this analogy, the reason that your bank account or your personal family banking system, which we call a wealth maximization account, but it's uniquely designed whole life insurance from a carrier that gives you back all of the profits. And these companies have been doing this for a couple of 100 years. And so the foundational piece is what the investments sit on top of. Investments, remember, investments are putting my money at risk of losing it so that I can make it grow faster. So I'm willing to take it out of a position of safety, take it out of the safe bubble and go put it to work. But hopefully we do that with a decent level of control. And that's why I drive everybody to understand and consider your own directly owned cash flowing real estate, your own businesses, and putting work in yourself, because this will always be the number one asset in your financial life and probably your entire family's financial life. Because if you're the one that's seeking this podcast, that probably means that you're the mover and the shaker financially for the family, and you're the one that's out there trying to grow what you have to do. And that means you're likely to be the high earner and to be extremely successful. And so sitting above the whole life insurance, which is your personal bank, it gives you the liquidity, safety, and uninterrupted level of compounding. Above that are the alternative investments. And so those are real estate, your own business, as I've pictured here, and the work you've put into yourself. And so what I have done and what I did, and many of my clients do, is they move money out of higher risk positions where they're not in control, because there's an overall 401k manager, there's a actual money financial advisor or stock picker involved, and there's the CEOs of the companies and the workers in the companies that are making decisions about whether you make money or lose money. And so if you can pull all of that down to a position where you're in greater control and insight, and you educate yourself, work on the most important number two asset, then you can have your money safely grow for you where you're in the position of control to be able to employ that money, some of it for life today, not just for the future. And you also control the tax burden. And that's a big part of this. So if you can control the tax burden without sticking your money in scams, then you can retain the capital, you can grow the capital, and you can still live life today. And so you want to shift money to those things that you directly control. And then again, where you can decide when and how to buy or sell or take cash flow from them so that you can control the tax situation. And again, the IRS has set up the tax code. Our government has set up the tax code to incentivize people to do stuff that they know is better done in the private economy than done by the government. We're smart enough, we have enough years behind us that we know that public housing built by the government will create all kinds of problems. It creates entitled people who will stay on Medicaid for the rest of their lives. It creates the hood. It creates very poor areas with high crime where people have lost their vision about how to provide for themselves and to succeed in the world. And that's why safe, functional housing, workforce housing provided by landlords, people who want to invest and get cash flow from it, but also help other people, is incentivized by the government. That's just one example about how setting up your situation to focus on tiers 1 and 2 will help you also in your tax situation. And we've talked about other things that will support that world, right? There's things like bonus depreciation of your real assets that we just turned back on with the One Big Beautiful Bill law that just got passed. That means that you can take you can take a large portion of real estate, whether it be housing or maybe it's a commercial building, and you can depreciate or take a deduction, a paper loss of a lot of that purchase price in the first year so that you can save and offset maybe some of your earnings that are coming from other sources. Section 179 deductions. This is a big one for business owners. Business owners can go out there and they can invest in equipment inventory, buildings, and things to promote and increase the size of their business, again, offsetting some of the income that they're able to now live today on without having to pay a huge amount of taxes on. There's things called captive insurance, where you can actually start your own insurance company on a smaller scale. The government specifically put that in there so that small businesses can act like large businesses like General Electric and Coca-Cola and companies that offset their own risk by actually running their own major insurance company. Well, this is similar for property and casualty and liability and losses due to cyber crimes, due to economic impact. So you can put in place something called captive insurance, which allows you to play at the level of the big business. Again, the government wants small business to be out there. They want us to be able to compete against the Amazons of the world, or at least theoretically they do. I hope that that's still true in our government. And then agency also helps you protect your cash flows and protect all of the assets that you have grown. And then it helps you create and sustain legacy structures. So what we've shown so far is this concept of the hierarchy of wealth. And the wealth tiers are really not that difficult if you just think about them from the pictures that I showed in the previous slide. You have tier 1, which has to be safe, liquid, and guaranteed to always be there. That can be gold bullion that you have that's in a safe place. It can be crypto that's on a wallet that is a stable coin like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And it can be money that you have in a bank or money that you have in your personal family banking system that, again, we call a wealth maximization account. Whole life insurance that's guaranteed to go up in value every year. That's why I don't use IUL or Index Universal Life for this purpose. It's fine that it's an investment that up in the tier 3 or 4 area, but I don't call it tier 1 because you can lose money. And if you age out to 70s or 80s, like it happened to my in-laws and many of my other clients, you'll see that the thing starts nosediving as the term insurance that's inside that IUL product starts to skyrocket in cost. I still have never met anybody who died of old age or a family who had a family member who died of old age with this universal life insurance or IUL in place, because it allows you to underfund it. And at some point, as life throws us curveballs, people do underfund it and it ends up falling apart. Whole life insurance structure completely different. Risks go down in whole life insurance to the insurance company about whether they can keep it in place or not as you get older. Completely different model, and it serves a very good purpose as being a banking system. Would I have it go compete against my operating businesses or even my 401k? No, that's not its job. Its job is to be the foundation to hold all of those things upright. So you have that tier 1, then you have the direct investments of tier 2, and then you have the more passive investments, but they're still likely alternative type investments like you doing private lending, you investing in somebody else's apartment building or medical office building, and you doing syndications or funds where they will go put single family homes together and other types of real property assets or businesses. And then at the very top is tier 4, and that's where you're so far removed from your money. There are so many people between you and your money that you're really gambling because you can't control reasonably the entire thing if you have all these steps in the middle that you don't know what's happening there, you're not staying informed, you don't know who to call or what people are doing with it. You just really can't stay informed with it. So I'm not saying that speculating in large cap, large blue chip stocks is necessarily the riskiest thing you'll ever do in life, but I am saying that you do not control that. And I've seen so many people want to retire but not feel like they can retire because what if a market correction happens? What if this economic downturn happens? What if this other thing happens? Those are all just indications that you do not have agency in your life because you do not have enough down in tiers 1 and 2. And that's what I help my clients do every day is get more down into tiers 1 and 2, stabilize things, understand at least what level of risk they are taking on. How do we do that? Well, we give them access to our private client portal, which enables them to represent their life on this hierarchy of wealth so that they can then understand what does the current picture look like and what is the ideal picture and how do I shift towards that. Again, you can click on that QR code that you saw back at the beginning and connect with me, or you can just reach out to me at Gary@GaryPinkerton.com and we can go through that. Another part about the protection, though, is protecting that legacy structure, right? So protect your assets today means that you're putting LLCs in place, you're putting maybe land trusts in place, you're putting things in place that help you from a few different angles prevent loss of this asset by somebody taking it from you. Insurance is a huge part of that. But then there are trusts, right? And there are revocable living trusts, which I'm representing on the left-hand side, and that's all about things that's not really protection. I mean, it helps you protect money, but it's actually about maintaining control in the short term. So revocable living trust is dealing with your estate, helping your guardians of your children and helping the trustees of your estate handle things, or I should have said executors of your estate, handle things in the short term before it all gets stabilized as we are dealing with wrapping up that estate, right? So after you pass away, your estate still has to file one more income tax return, and there may be an issue with estate taxes and other liabilities that come to the forefront, and that's why people have life insurance in place to be able to deal with that. But it's also why you have a living trust. It's a very inexpensive tool that can be used and is used to help put the money in the hands of your trustee so that they can take care of the children, they can take care of the business and keep it operating. And you can minimize the costs that are associated with that probate process that everyone will have to go through. And I want to repeat that everyone has to go through probate. I had a client whose husband passed away recently, and she thought that she would not have to go through the probate process. First of all, it's not that hard of a process because she had a living trust in place. So if everything that you own has to go through probate, then yeah, it could be expensive and very disrupting, and it could take several months to get through. But the version where you have appropriately and effectively put most of your expensive stuff, your valuable assets, into a living trust, and you just have a few items out there that need to go through that probate process someday down the road when the court gets to it in your city or in your state, then yeah, someday it'll have to happen. But it's not a big deal. It's not going to affect the operation of your state and your businesses and your kids' lives while we go through that process. So you should definitely have a living trust in place at a minimum. And again, it's a few $100s. It's simple to set up. We can do that directly at Paradigm Life, and we can also help connect you with someone who can do it for just a few hundred. And then there's this irrevocable trust. So I have this big red brick wall separating the revocable living trust and the irrevocable trust. And that brick wall is separating things that are inside your estate, like your living trust, right, and all the stuff that it owns, and then those things that are outside of your estate. That's what an irrevocable trust does, or sometimes they're called legacy trust or Rockefeller trust. All right, those are things that are set up where you have, during your lifetime, given things away, permanently, completely given it away. It's set up for the beneficiary of your future generations normally. It might be set up for the beneficiary of a charity. But the idea here is that you give it away permanently so that it's not part of your estate when that final time comes where both you and your spouse have passed away. It's much less expensive to allow it to continue operating out there, and it's also a massive way to protect all those assets from you. If things are in an irrevocable trust and you have given them away to the ABC Legacy Trust, and then you run over somebody with your car, yeah, they're going to get the stuff that's inside your revocable living trust because that's inside your estate. You can minimize that, of course, and we want to put that in place. We want insurance, and we want good practices, and we want corporate formalities, they call it, in place so that the LLCs and the corporations and the revocable living trust can help you as much as they can. But if they have enough money and the issue was egregious enough, they will get all of those things. The question is, can they get the stuff you gave away? No. If I had given stuff to my great-great-grandmother and it's in her estate somewhere, or my great-great-grandchildren, they didn't run over anybody, and I haven't been out there trying to control it, and so it's gone. Now, hold on a minute. Am I advocating that you just completely give it away and it's not in your estate anymore? Because that starts to sound a lot, Gary, like I'm not living life today, right? I'm only able to live it into the future, maybe not at all, because I just gave it away. How is that better than what the doctor was doing in my initial story, where he was giving stuff, hundreds of thousands of dollars away into a retirement plan that he can't use today? Well, the way it's different is that you can control the operations that occur inside the entities that are in this irrevocable trust. Now, so I credit York and Howell, my attorney firm, that are out in Salt Lake City, and I'd be happy to make an introduction to you, or to another attorney firm if that's not a perfect fit for what you're trying to do. But they're big-time legacy providers. They're a nationally recognized attorney firm. And so this more complex structure, it looks like this. And so it's got entities and things in there. And I'm going to give away actually this entire LLC kind of real estate entity structure, give the whole thing away to that trust, but be able to continue to manage the operations inside it. How do you do that? Well, it's a little complex. It's not like an offshore Cayman Islands trust as far as the expense and the complexity. But what I want you to get out of this is that protecting your assets now and in the future is a sliding scale. When it becomes important that 100 years from now you can make sure that the money goes to the right place, or when it becomes important to protect your money from a crazy child that you have that maybe is mentally incapacitated or just went off the deep edge and is inconsistent in everything they think with what you want to have your money go do, then you take care of it at that point. I mean, there's times where you need to take care of things early, like leading up to 2026 when we didn't know yet that the big, beautiful bill was going to get approved. Now that it is, we can kind of put a lot of stuff on pause. Not everything, but a lot. And so there are times to take action immediately, and I will help you understand when those are. But many people get suckered into, at conferences, spending thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, on things that are not necessary today. And that will, just like putting money into your self-insured pension plan that the doctor did, or into a captive insurance policy when you didn't really need it, it will take money out of your life that will cause you to eat those ramen noodles that my doctor had mentioned to me. So as I wrap this one up, I want to make a couple of points. And hopefully this has come clear in all of the things that I've suggested that you do in increasing your own capabilities, your own understanding, your own knowledge, and seeking advice from financial advisors. And I would be honored to be that person for you, Gary at GaryPinkerton.com. But what we are trying to do is to develop agency, which means that you are in control about how you design your own personal financial life and have control over those assets so that you can achieve the results that you're looking for with certainty, because you make the rules. So agency will do that if you have the understanding, the knowledge, and the support network around you to make it happen. You can live life today and live life in the future. So what I ask you to do, what I suggest, is that you spend a few moments after listening to this podcast and reflect on, where do you currently lack control of your financial resources? Where do you feel trapped or cornered? And reach out and I'll help you get unstuck. I will help you get untrapped. I'll help you get free, because we're going to help you put agency in your own current lifestyle. So in closing, I hope you got some great value out of that. Another shout out to my friend Glenn for pointing out the value of ChatGPT and what it says. So if you want to have a laugh, or if you just want to get a great summary, go to ChatGPT and ask it, what is Gary Pinkerton talking about when he mentions agency in the Gary's Gulch podcast? And you'll just get a great summary. It was pretty fun. I was going to do the episode about that completely, but that was too much talking about me. So I wanted to talk about agency, not about me. But it was fun to listen to that, and it nailed me to a T. So if you don't have agency over your wealth, then someone else does. I remember a fun little joke where it says, if you show up at dinner and you don't know what's on the menu, it's you. Meaning that there are people who have designs on your money and on your life and what you're going to do for them and what your money is going to do for them when they get it out of your hands. There's definitely people in the government where that fits. How do I get more of the people's money? As Nancy Pelosi says, we have a revenue problem. How do I get as much money as possible so that I can go do the things that I want to do with it? That's their mindset. If you do not have agency over your wealth, someone else does. Let's change that. Reach out to me at GaryPinkerton.com or click on the QR code that's showing up here in the YouTube video. Thank you so much, and until next time, go make something amazing happen in Gary's Gulch.